leave in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Insurrection, obstruction, indictment, civilly liable for sexual abuse. The one man responsible for all that could be sitting in a prison cell on election day and still be elected commander-in-chief for these United States. That man is beholden to Putin, weakened NATO the last time around, and is currently tying himself to wealthy Saudi oil money. He enriched himself when government stayed at his properties. He campaigned on wanting to use government to go after his political rivals and wants to expand executive power. If Donald Trump is reelected, our nation is lost. So let's roll up our sleeves, get to work, and tell the MAGA folks no more before it's too late.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. If you are wanting to join the chat that way, you can just leave your area code in the YouTube chat or Twitch chat. YouTube chat is liberaldanradio.com, and you can just get to the live that way. That's my YouTube channel. Or you can go to twitch.tv/liberaldanradio as well. Just let us know who you are so we can kind of do a little bit of, checking to see who you are and not hoping you're not a troll. If you're listening on the Blog Talk Radio chat and you're trying to get a chat that way, we don't monitor that chat, so just come on over to YouTube and Twitch. We pretty much just use Blog Talk Radio for soundboards when it works. To support the show, remember to like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, share this and other video links with your friends. There's plenty of other content out there, especially election-related content with more to come. It's the best way to help the algorithms. Al Gore needs more rhythm, And you can also comment and like on individual comments, interact with people on the chats. That's how to get the YouTube code, understanding that, hey, other people are looking at this, maybe we should recommend this to others as well. You can support the show other ways. You can Venmo, Liberal Dan on Venmo. You can go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button and help the show one time. Patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way will get you there. Support the show that way. You can buy bits and subscriptions on Twitch. You can, if you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you anything. You can just connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then that'll allow you one free membership a month. And if you use it on me, I'd be highly grateful for it. Shout out to Aaron for subbing for 8 months over on Twitch. Thank you so much for that. Aaron and Jolie are the top members, Liberal Danimals over on YouTube. You could also become a Liberal Danimal for as little as $2 a month. There are higher options as well, or you can also give super chats, super stickers, etc. Occasionally I might do, I also have nerdydan.com, which is my gaming stream that I do Tuesdays. Sometimes with that I will share games that I'm playing that you can play too and help the show. If one of those comes around, I'll talk about that maybe Wednesday. Don't have a new one picked out yet as of yet, but we got almost $300 from the Monopoly Ghost link, so appreciate everybody who played there, regardless if you played and got to level 2 or got to level 41. Either way, appreciate your support. Of course, if playing games is not your cup of tea, that's fine. There's all the other ways I listed previously are great ways to help the show. A bunch of people in the chat so far. We got Zolda Zen, looks like a first-time viewer. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Hope to see you around lots. Aaron and Jolie, the Mod Squad. Jeff, Fancy, Steve from across the pond. Scotty, Scott for IU. Let's see, just scrolling on down. We got Mike Hunt. Nice. Mad Mac. Jackie, good to see you, Jackie. Just trying to scroll down. We got Kevin. Good to see you as well. Dawn. And I think I have it. Janelle, good to see you. I don't think I missed anybody. Let's just go through the chat. Just basically a bunch of hays. So, hey, back at you. Good to see y'all. Slava Ukraine. Absolutely. We still need. That's one of the important reasons why Donald Trump can't win this election, because if Donald Trump wins this election, Ukraine and the rest of the world are going to go to crap, because Trump will just lay down for Putin or bend over for Putin, forwards or backwards, whichever way Putin wants him to. So, let's see. Sean Ryan interview was cringe. I've not seen yet the Trump Sean Ryan interview. I bet you it was cringe, because most of them are cringe as well. So, Jolie, it's the 3rd anniversary of the 13 dead soldiers in Afghanistan today. Because of, let me fix that for you, because of Trump's ineptitude when it came to scaling down, because Trump telegraphed all the moves and left Biden with a crappy situation. It's almost like Donald Trump knew that he was going to lose, and as such, he wanted to leave Biden with the worst situation that he could possibly have. So he left Biden with a mess in Afghanistan. He left Biden with a horrible deal with oil drilling when it came to OPEC and Russia. They negotiated a deal for reduced drilling during the pandemic so that it wouldn't drive down prices to ridiculously low levels. And it's understandable why they had to do a deal at the time, but the deal stretched into 2022 and artificially reduced supply with increasing demand once we came out of the lockdowns or whatever, means high gas prices for everybody else. Yet everybody wants to blame Biden for it, when Donald Trump's negotiated plan is the one that gave us super duper high gas prices. Mike, Biden and Harris still dropped the ball. Don't believe that is anywhere near true, but we're allowed to disagree on certain things. That it is. Wait, sorry, I don't want to steal Donald Trump's line. Here you go.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. At least, we now have it working. And for anybody new who is wondering why I'm playing a Donald Trump clip, I just want to remind everybody that that's what Donald Trump said after he was asked about all the COVID deaths. He was asked by a reporter about the COVID deaths and what all the COVID deaths that were going on in his during his administration, and his response was simply,
"It is what it is."
Just to show how careless of an individual he actually is. What's up, Nick? Good to see you. Glad you could stop by. Dakota Dave, good to see you, my friend. We got TK. Awesome. Thank you for joining in as well. Aaron, is that really his name? Probably not. But, I appreciate the good pun. Anyway, so in a little bit we'll talk about taxes and stuff, because I was trying to think about what topic I wanted to cover today, and as they were coming out, I was like, all right, well, we can talk about that, we can talk about that, we can talk about that, and all of these things started flowing out about taxes. I'm like, all right, well, let's do taxes, because there's a lot of misinformation about taxes and the Vice President Harris tax plan on taxing the wealthy, and with the wealth tax and other sort of misinformation that happens when it comes to politics. And that's why you come to shows like Hal and shows like mine and shows like Boston Brian and Dude and everyone else, because we're here to fight the misinformation. We're here to give you the facts, and with fighting Donald Trump with facts, logic, and reason, even though a lot of his supporters don't necessarily like to embrace the idea of facts, logic, and reason. And if you remember, I shared this on Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook. You could also, that's where other places you can find me. I'm Liberal Dan Radio pretty much everywhere at this point where you would want to go, and even some places maybe you don't want to go. Twitter, Liberal Dan Radio, Facebook, Liberal Dan Radio, as well. You can follow those places as well. But on let's see, I shared this image on Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook. Let's see if I can pop it up open. And it was basically me having a conversation about Donald Trump and his misleading of people during the pandemic. Somehow the topic came up of the pandemic and this, that, and the other. And I was basically trying to explain to the person that Donald Trump is the individual who, in the conversation with Bob Woodward, he explained that he likes to downplay threats, that the threat of COVID was high and he wouldn't wish it on his worst enemy, but he told Woodward that he likes to downplay threats. He likes to minimize threats. So he lied to the American public by saying that it wasn't a big deal, that it was just the flu, even though he knew it was bad because Donald Trump is the king of sugarcoating. He sugarcoats things so much we get diabetes from it. And the response that I got from the individual was one that, frankly, I shouldn't have been surprised of, but I still was. The person responded with, "Who's Bob Woodward?" And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, how can you have a conversation on politics and not know who Woodward is? I mean, talk about one of the biggest names in media. Massive coverage of Watergate. Massive coverage of various other issues like Valerie Plame scandal and lots of other things that went down during various administrations. Interviewed Trump during COVID. Who's Bob Woodward? Again, Donald Trump did say in the 2016, after the 2016 Nevada primary, when he did so well there, that he loved the poorly educated. He listed all the groups that he did well with, but he never said that he loved any of the rest of them, but he did say he loves the poorly educated. And daily, the Donald Trump supporters are out there working their hardest to try and prove why they deserve to be loved as part of that group. This is also why, one of the reasons why, later on, his wanting to downplay threats, just to remind everybody, I know we've talked about this before, but for the benefit of the any new watchers here, we have the Tulsa rally where he was like, we have to stop testing. If you have more testing, you have more cases, as if more people are infected because you give the test. Again, it was another one of the ways that Donald Trump wanted to downplay. He wanted the optics to look better for him, so he didn't want people seeing how many people actually had a COVID infection. When in reality, it would have been better for us to have robust testing so that we could have better, more targeted lockdowns. But Donald Trump doesn't like science or trust science. He thinks you can inject a disinfectant into the body. Like a moron. Because, as I say, Donald Trump is an idiot. Right there. Donald Trump is an idiot. Okay, apparently I made this show be 15 minutes long. I don't know. I didn't really do that. I thought I made it for an hour. But there you go. We're no longer ending in 90 seconds. I hate when that happens. Blog Talk Radio. You get what you pay for, right? Anyway, so there's that. Which, those two things, his lying and downplaying about the threat and his wanting to reduce testing so we would have less cases, it's one of the reasons I don't trust his numbers on immigration. I don't believe that anybody should trust Donald Trump's numbers on immigration, simply because of the fact that if Donald Trump is willing to downplay threats, and if he's willing to manipulate the figures and test less to make it look like we have less cases, why wouldn't he instruct Border Patrol to not go out there and have interactions with people, so therefore he would have to report less interactions with people who are crossing the border? and he could focus his attention on people who were already here and show, oh, I'm doing such a great job. I'm getting all the people that are here, and I'm trying to deport them. Meanwhile, he didn't do anything about the people who, at the border, or because I believe that he probably made sure that they didn't interact with as many people as they could have, simply to keep his numbers down. Because he likes to sugarcoat things. He likes to make things look better for him. It's advertising. Everything is advertising to him. It doesn't matter what lives it impacts or who he harms in the process. So, Kimchi's here. Hey, Kimchi, good to see you. The goddess Kimchi has arrived. Let's see. Yeah, holy crap, who was Bob Woodward? Yes, that was the real question. Jeff, how was that Popeye's chicken the day before I got COVID? It was worth it. Love that chicken from Popeyes, right? Popeyes is not a sponsor of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. But if you want to talk something out, let's make a deal. But let me tell you, if you want to sponsor my show, you got to bring back your onion rings. Because holy crap, your onion rings are delicious. Or were delicious because they got rid of them. Side note, when I had a conversation with the managers to why they got rid of the nice freshly made onion rings at Popeyes, the response was the reason they got rid of them is because they kept running out of them. I was like, okay, so you have a product that was so popular that you replaced the popular delicious product with frozen pre-made garbage, and then they just discontinued onion rings because nobody else wanted the pre-made garbage anymore. What a way to do business, guys. Makes total sense. Mike, he wasn't serious about what, Mike? Because I don't know which one you're talking about. Just see, when you're going to comment on something, maybe put a little quote if you're responding to something I say, because I don't always see it, because there's a delay. So when I say something, it's about at least a 5-6 second delay, depending on the time. And also, there's the fact that I might not see your chat. I might scroll back to go see what you're saying, so I don't necessarily know what you say. But yes, Aaron did respond in exactly the way that I did, because Aaron West listens to the show. Aaron West is a frequent liberal Danimal, and because part of the Mod Squad, obviously. But it's nice to know that she also pays attention to what I say. It's a nice feeling when people actually listen to you and absorb the facts, because Donald Trump specifically says that he doesn't joke. When a reporter asked him about whether or not he was joking about something, Donald Trump says, no, I don't kid. I don't kid about it. He doesn't joke. He is not a joking person. That is not the type of person he is. His listeners will try and say, oh, well, he was just joking, but he doesn't joke. He doesn't joke as well. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Fancy, for gifting Liberal Dan memberships. I appreciate it muchly. Bigly. I appreciate it bigly. Is it really bigly, or is it big league? Because for a while I thought it was big league, but it kind of sounds sometimes like he's saying big league, and that makes more sense sometimes. Yes, Dakota Dave, what's going on? What was I saying? Yes, I happen to say things. That's what I do. I say things and I drink. Well, tonight I'm drinking water, but hey, it happens. Oh, I should have pushed this in before I took my sip of water.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So, yes, Slava Ukraini. Yes. So there's all that. I'm waiting to see what Mr. Hunt wants to say, what was talking about when it comes to what was wrong and what he was joking about. Because, was he joking about testing in cases? Was he joking about downplaying threats? What was he joking about? Because, frankly, you would think his entire administration was a joke, but, unfortunately, to many people, it wasn't that funny at all. At all. Mad Mac, thanks, mate. Steve, I never win anything. That's why I never go to Vegas. I went to Vegas. I had a good time. I don't know. I won a good bit at start, and then I lost, I think, what I won. I don't think I want anything else. But I did get, it was a free trip anyway, so I started off into positive. Zen, if it was Big League, I promise you Donald would win correctly in making fun of Big League. Maybe. Like, I noticed this the other day. Like, I mean, how inept of a speaker can you be by just going back to the same line over and over again? Because, you know, I mean, it's like a meme now that is like, you know, I have words, I have the best words, nobody has better words. One of these creators over on TikTok, I call him the often wrong millennial, because, you know, letting Donald Trump, I guess, you know, following the Donald Trump thing of calling people names, but it's called the older millennial. And he was saying something about how people were talking about Vice President Harris and how great her speech was, which it was great. And then he was like, Harris doesn't write her own speeches, she has speechwriters for that. And he's like, Donald Trump doesn't write his own speeches, he has writers for that too. And I'm like, oh, I think Donald Trump would disagree with you. Donald Trump would tell you that those are his words and he has the very best words. And he gets out there and he still says that crap. He still says, I have the best whatever. Nobody has better whatevers. Whatever the whatever is. He has the best and nobody has better. And it's crazy how he still does it. And it's like beating the dead horse repeatedly. Let's see, the hell he was joking. He said it over and over again. Besides, has anyone seen Orange Turd laugh? No, I've never seen him laugh. I don't think I've ever seen him ever. He might have cracked a smile at something, like, but I've never seen him had any sort of emotion about anything whatsoever. You know, that's one of the differences between liberals and conservatives that was revealed during last week's convention, was that you had Tim Walz' son, who showed a lot of emotion about his dad calling out his family and telling them how much he loves them and how they're his world, and his son, just shows a touching show of emotion back. And there was plenty of times earlier in the week where Walz was like, he was clearly emotional, and it's great to see men out there being sensitive, being emotional. And yes, it came out that his son does have some like autism, etc., but it shouldn't matter, because you shouldn't be mocking people for showing emotions. But we, as on the left, see people showing emotions and we're like, that's sweet, that's so touching, that's such a nice thing to see. Love between a father and his son, and love how much this father loves his family, loves his kids. We need more of that. And then the conservatives come out and just mock everybody for being that. Well, showing emotion is weak. Really? It's part of the toxicity of conservatism that upholds this toxic idea that men can't show feelings and emotions. That's why I have a whole playlist for unraveling toxic masculinity. The idea that men can't show feelings, that men can't show emotion, and that conservatives will just attack when they see it. Because, oh no, if we allow guys to show emotions, what's going to happen next? We might become more in touch with our feelings and we might actually be better people. Gasp. What's up, CR? What's up, Surrender Mucky? What's up, Chad? See, 87. I was 11, I think, in 87. He only laughs at the misfortune of others. He is evil and stupid, a deadly combo. Yes. Evil and stupid. Absolutely. But Eric almost crying, my father created New York. That's fine. Have you ever heard Donald Trump say that he loves his kids? We've heard Donald Trump say that he wants to fuck Ivanka, but we haven't heard that I don't think I've ever heard Donald Trump saying, I love you, Eric. I love you, Barron. I love you, Don Jr. Like, no, I've never seen that ever. Yes, conservatives are mean. Yes, they are. He said Baron is very Moon Girl over on Twitch. He says Baron is very tall, gets good grades. Yes, that's high praise, I guess. Right? I mean, I have noticed. I mean, it's I don't think that kids who are not. I don't think that unless the kids are involved in the campaign, I think kids should be off limits for any sort of criticism whatsoever. That includes the Republican ones. Eric and Ivanka and Don Jr. clearly are putting themselves out there, especially Eric and Don Jr. at this point. So yes, absolutely, I will criticize them 100% for the things that they do. But the only thing I think I've ever said about Barron Trump was I saw how tall he was, and I was like, holy crap, that dude's tall. That's it. Didn't say anything positive or negative about it, but I guess, that's how Donald Trump shows, I'm going to say something about you physically, because to him, that's one thing that's important, I guess, is the physicality. Barron kind of scary. I mean, I'm just wouldn't go there. I mean, anybody with Donald Trump's genes has the potential of being scary because, I mean, if you're evil, you're likely to raise evil as well. So they're barely offspring. Yes, Eric is 40, Don is junior, so they're 46. They're kids. True, but if they weren't involved with anything, I would be like, you still shouldn't even. They should be irrelevant at that point. But they're involved, so they're fair game. DJT is a petty child. Yes, he is. He's very petty, and not in a good way. I appreciate a good petty. He is not a good petty. Oh, look, we got Khalil on the line over on Blog Talk Radio. Let's bring Khalil over and see what he has to say.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Khalil? Good to hear from you.
Pretty good.
What you got to talk about today?
Yeah, I'm going to Williamsburg the week after next.
Cool.
Yeah, and I have a lot of fun, and I'm also hoping to do something new while I'm down and do something that I have never done before.
Which is?
Do like a not do a first responder celebration thing, but go to one of those.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be a bunch of first responders, and then I'm also hoping to go somewhere new because they have some things in Williamsburg that they don't have in Charlottesville.
Right, like
they have a lot of, like activity-wise, like stuff like as far as like playing video games. We have video games, but it's not as much as in Williamsburg.
Huh. Interesting, because again, me being originally from Baltimore, always heard about Colonial Williamsburg, so I always hear Williamsburg, Virginia, and I think of the people walking around in the oldie time colonial type garb. I don't think of video games, but I guess there's more to Williamsburg than just the colonial stuff.
Yep.
And Busch Gardens, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, how you been doing?
I've been all right. Wednesday was hit or miss for me. I was having a bad day Wednesday. Actually, I talked about this a little bit on my personal Facebook page. But for those of you who haven't seen the video that I've done or the podcast that I've done where I talk about living life as a beast person in this country. I was having, usually I'm the jovial big guy. Normally I'm the guy that makes jokes at my own expense. Normally I'm the guy that, makes fun of himself, self-deprecating humor, haha, funny. And I don't let the size of, my size really get me down. I mean, recently with my knee pain, it has, but for some reason this past Wednesday, I was going to be off for the show. Because I was going to a concert, and then I called the venue for the concert, and the concert was going to be standing room only, and there's no way I could have stood for that entire concert. I would have been absolutely miserable.
Right.
So they said, oh, well, we do have some benches upstairs. Like, all right, well, maybe I'll give that a shot, because my wife was looking forward to going to the concert. I did say that maybe she should find somebody else to go with. Who might be able to, stand the entire time. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I gotta
What?
answer this call. Sorry.
That's no problem. Have a good one, Khalil. All right, that's Khalil from Virginia, going to Williamsburg. But anyway, to continue my point, I told her, look, maybe you might have a better time if you found somebody that you could go with that would be able to stand with you and not somebody who has to sit in some bench. I didn't even know what the bench situation looked like at the time. So, hey, Kimchi, member for 5 months, Liberal Danimal for 5 months. Thank you so much. Appreciate you as always. So she couldn't find anybody to go. And then, so she was just not going to go to the concert either. And, oh, by the way, the concert was for Russell Crowe. Like, for those of you who don't know, he also sings above and beyond acting. So, and part of the frustrations of this whole thing was that apparently, COVID affects you in different ways. And when I got COVID after the cruise that I went on in July, I think one of the things that happened was that it really inflamed my already inflamed joints, including my knees. And ever since I got back from the cruise, my knees have been absolutely just a crap show. Like, terrible. Like, very bad stamina walking around, especially standing still. Standing still is worse. So I felt really bad once I figured out that, my wife wasn't going to be able to go. Because she wasn't going to go because she couldn't go with anyone else. And I was like, you know what, fine. I will go. I will try it. And at worst comes to worst, I sit in the bench and we'll see what it is. So I did sit in the bench for most of the concert. Which was like, there was like a wide open bottom floor. You go upstairs. There's kind of like a U upstairs with let's say a U like here. There's like a little, U. And I thought that the benches might be just like kind of like along that wall. No, there was a cutout towards the side, and the benches were all that way. So there was no way that you could see the stage directly from sitting on one of those benches. Now, they had a TV up there. You could watch it on TV. So basically, I was listening to the live music whilst watching TV, whilst also watching my wife standing, leaning on the railing to get a better view. And then there was this couple that was there that was like making out the entire time and like kept on bumping into her. And I finally got up for a second and just kind of put my arms around her, and he bumped up against my arm and realized, oh, it's my arm and not her. And they moved finally. And I was like, thank God. Because people were so rude at this concert. Like, Russell Crowe was trying to tell a story about a certain song that he was about to sing. And nobody would shut up. So it got to the point where he was like, fine, I won't tell you my story, I'll just sing my song. And he was getting very aggravated, and I would have too. I was surprised he didn't just leave. But I think one of the reasons he didn't leave is because there are a lot of people there to see him who know his girlfriend / fiance, because he has a new fiance, and they celebrated that, I think, this trip as well. And a lot of people were there specifically to see her and to see Russell Crowe. But anyway, one of the amazing things was I like to look at set lists when I, kind of to judge, oh, is there going to be an encore? And I was like, oh, not only is there an encore, there may very well be 2 encores. The first encore has 4 songs. The second one has 2. So I'm like, okay. First encore comes, does the 4 songs. Second encore comes, was like 10. We had an entire whole set of music as the second encore. He just kept it going. Everybody want another song? And everyone was like, woo! And so we got like 10 songs as part of the second encore. Like, the entire encore was an entire show. Plus, there was like 3 opening acts. So I would not have lasted at all surviving on my legs. So thank goodness there were chairs. And I occasionally got up and, gave my wife a hug, gave her a kiss, not like making out like the people were next to her. But, kind of leaned over the edge to kind of take a look and see what it looked like live. Not that big of a difference from the TV, but, Come on, click it.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So it was an enjoyable time. He was a better singer than I gave him credit for. And they actually did a really good version of the Bangles version of Hazy Shade of Winter, which had that song in my head for a couple of days as well. But yeah, I'm glad I went, even though I spent most of it just sitting on a bench. So let's see. As someone who is also living the movie Fatso and gets tired walking too much recently, I feel your pain. Yes, get walking around, like when we went to Disney. I get a scooter at this point because my knees can't handle it, and it's also actually better because of my size, I sweat a lot, and by going around Disney in a scooter instead of walking around, I don't have this entire just shirt full of sweat that makes me feel like I have to change it like halfway through the day. So there's that too. That there's a benefit to that. So Kevin, what do they call people at a Russell Crowe concert? A murder of crows? Yes, absolutely, very much so. Let's scroll back a bit. Yeah, he's on the radio. Has to take another call. Yeah, I mean it happens. It's calling on a cell. Let's see, Jojo Mojo, I know how you feel. My legs and back's killing me. My weight loss down since Thanksgiving. I lost over 177 pounds. Now it's taken me 3 months to lose 15. Congratulations on losing 177 pounds. I'm also trying to deal with, either getting the correct injectable or getting weight loss surgery or whatever. And insurance companies will fight tooth and nail to not cover anything, despite the fact that we pay a lot in premiums. So that's very frustrating as well, because I was originally taking Trulicity and I lost 70-something pounds on Trulicity, which helped ease my appetite, which made me eat less. So now I don't have that help, and it's just more and more frustrating. Lincoln Pork, nice. Is it true that you need to be up to date on all COVID shots, wear a mask alone in your car, and have monkeypox at least twice on your face to be a liberal? Ha ha. No, that's not true. You should be up to date on all your COVID shots, because that's the smart thing to do, as long as you can actually take them. If you're prohibited from taking them medically because your doctor says you can't, because you're immunocompromised or whatever, then by all means don't take it and follow your doctor's advice, but you should be wearing a whatever. And I didn't begrudge people who wore masks alone in the car, because I just assumed they were Uber drivers between rides, and as such didn't want to have to worry about changing masks between passengers. So that's what I would assume when I saw people alone in a car with a mask on. But the Mpox thing, whatever. So let's see. My son was at a show with Keanu Reeves band Saturday. I told him if they want to call him Ted because he'd like that. Nice. Dan has a plan for Flan. Wu-Tang Flan ain't nothing to F with. See, Hal covered it a few years back when it was the only rally Trump crap over the BC, because he literally did in the White House yards. See, Chad, gotta cut those sugars out, bro. I've been telling you, intermittent fasting, sugar is the devil. I've been looking up the intermittent fasting thing. Yeah, I probably could cut down on the sugars a bunch as well. I haven't really found much of anything like concrete on the intermittent fasting on how to do it properly, or as to whether or not it's good or not. But the problem is that I pay for insurance for a reason, and they're not paying what I pay them for. So, see, we had NFL season tickets for 16 years, had to cancel the same reason, just too hard to get to the games and to the seats. I feel for you. See, a Russell Crowe concert, I would have denied, not being married to avoid that. You're a better man than me. Bought scalpers tickets to watch Aerosmith obstruct the view of stage. Sounded great though. Yep. Now you can't see Aerosmith concert either, because they're no longer going to tour, unfortunately, which sucks. I would have liked to have been able to see one more concert. Song used in the movie Lesson Zero. Nerd. Nerds. Chris, I came off immunotherapy in 2019 and CT scans every 3 months. 2020 was supposed to be my comeback year to start getting out more. Oy. Yeah, everybody was like, 2020 is going to be my year. 2020 was like, nope, F you. I need to go on a beer diet, but I can't smoke pot, so universal healthcare saved my life twice. Has anyone heard the Camel Toe song? I forgot about it. I heard the other day. Laughing so hard I couldn't believe it. I think I have. MJ, I'm going to get a second injection in my lower back for a pinched nerve, and the insurance denied it. I live in Washington State, one of the good ones, so I'm doing therapy instead. They stink. Yep. I mean, basically, the insurance companies have to be told that they have to cover things, and if they don't, then they say F you. If they're not told that, they have to say F you. Just like in property insurance in Louisiana. We've allowed the property insurers to get away with murder in this state. Not literal, but still, it's pretty bad. It's terrible. It's terrible. Terrible. Aspartame equals inflation. I don't ingest much aspartame though. So anyway, but if you do want a good episode of Liberal Dan Ready to Watch, it is in the best of playlist that I have. It's called The Living Life as an Obese Person or Living Life as a Fat Person or whatever, but it's one of my best, most proud of episodes. I think I did it like 3 years ago at this point. It was really, really good and really, really, really good episode. And I think I came forward with a lot of stuff, personal stuff, not everything, but I came forward with a lot of personal stuff on that one. So I think it's a really good way to get to know me and also to get to know the struggles that obese people go through if you're not already keenly aware of them. So, but today's topic of the show, we want to talk about taxes. Not exactly sure where I want to start with taxes, but one of the things that we deal with when we're talking about taxes, and I think there are people on both sides, of the, I don't want to what a both sides-isms or whataboutisms, but there are people, sometimes I hear like people on the left be like, yes, let's go back to the good old days when the tax rate was like 85% for the highest income earners. And one of the things you need to keep in mind whenever you're having a discussion about taxes with anybody, it's not just what the percentage is. It's what is considered taxable income. For example, if you had income back in that day when the tax rate was like 85, 95% or whatever it was, if you paid interest on credit cards or mortgages or whatever, you paid interest on any sort of loan, you could write that interest off from your income. So it didn't count as your income. Now, they don't give a crap. Most interest is not deductible from your income. There's literally no difference between taxing 50% of your salary at 20% or 20% of your salary at 50%. It's just what sounds better or looks better. I want a 50% tax rate. Get everybody on board. Yay! But, we're only going to tax 20% of what's actual income. Boo. So we start talking about the wealth tax that Vice President Harris wants to support. And you have lots of things making their way around Facebook that say, watch out if Kamala Harris becomes president, because if you sell your house and you make money on it, it's a capital gain, and they want to tax you on that. No. They tax you on that. That's another funny story that I've told in the show. So she's laid out Biden budget plan, which would raise $5 trillion in new revenue over a decade. This includes raising 21% corporate tax rate to 28%, the individual top tax rate from 37% to 39.6%. Should also impose a wealth tax on taxpayers with a net worth of at least $100 million. And that's the part that the conservatives leave out. That they're not going to tax everything when it comes to your capital gains. They're only going to put that, on the gain of your whatever properties that you have or whatever investments that you have, they're only going to give you that wealth tax if you make $100 million a year, and you also have to be relatively liquid. Like, it doesn't count, from my understanding of it, if most of your wealth is locked up in, like, let's say you had everything locked up in a certificate of deposit. Not a great investment, but, you know, if it's locked for 10 years, it's not liquid, so therefore it doesn't count. But conservatives don't care about the facts. Conservatives will say facts don't care about your feelings, but then go ahead and not care about the facts. They'll share this bogus BS about Vice President Harris's tax plan, but yet they won't even be bothered to actually look into the meat and to see if they're actually going to be affected by it. Part of the problem with conservatism, though, with a lot of conservatives that are out there, especially the ones that are poorer and who vote against their best interests, part of the problem is they think one day they might be in that group, in that number. One day they might be wealthy, despite the odds showing that they're never going to be. Odds are you're never going to get that rich. It's almost impossible. It happens to people, sure, it happens. But odds are it's not going to happen to you. But they want to make sure that the tax code is going to be as friendly to them as possible, just in case they happen to hit lightning twice. Just in case they get to that point. They want to be able to make sure that their income is going to be protected under the tax code. It's just like the people who fought for the Confederacy, who were never going to own slaves ever in their lives. They believe that, well, one day I might be able to own a slave, and if I can, I want to be able to. There's no way that they're going to ever own a slave. They're the working poor of the Confederacy. But the people in the Confederacy, the rich muckety mucks who convinced them to fight for them, was like, what if you make it big one day, and then you want to have a plantation with a bunch of slaves? They were never going to let that happen. But if they were to get a plantation with a bunch of slaves, these aggressive northern soldiers are coming in to stop your right from doing that. It's the same type of thing. Over and over and over again. Conservatism is constantly getting people to vote against their best interests. And then lying about what they're voting about. Because, like, just with this wealth tax that wants to be imposed, you have to have a wealth of over 100 million. So, vote in a solid Dem majority, and maybe some of this can be fixed. I mean, I'd like to see that. Unfortunately, the chances of us retaining the Senate are hard in and of itself. You have to outperform the Republicans because of Republican gerrymandering in order to win the House back. Now, granted, we did do much better when it came to the 2022 elections than everybody thought that we were going to, because the Republicans only won the House by a very little instead of by the huge amount that they thought they were going to win by, because we had November 22, and hopefully this year is November 24. But there is a shot, an opportunity for the Republicans to take the Senate unless we get massive turnout. We need massive turnout. We need people to just, especially in those states where there are Senate races, and B, in all of the states that matter for the presidential election. So, yes, taxes pay for infrastructure. And thanks to Joe Biden, we had an infrastructure plan pass, which we covered last week. And last Monday, we got the hypocrite of the week last week was Jeff Landry. Because he was more than happy to get the new high-speed internet in the state of Louisiana up and running because of the Infrastructure Act that was passed by Biden, but he never gave credit to Biden. Not once. Nope. So, Chris, property insurance is a scam. Depending on what kind of dog you have, they can deny you. I was denied because I had bred Rottweilers. My vicious mixed breed Australian Shepherd pit lab was okay. Yeah, that's odd as well. Fortunately, we only have labs and cats, so we're probably not going to be suffering from that one. But again, they will fight you. There was a law in Louisiana before where if they insured you, they had to insure you for 3 years. Now that's out the window. They can insure you 1 year and say, nope, I don't want to insure you anymore. And then you have to go back to the insurer of last resort, which sucks. To never if I had $1 billion, it would be a nationwide chain of homeless shelters for families with pets. That would also be good, because that's one of the reasons why one of the reasons the homeless people will have pets, as I understand it, is that they're less likely to be arrested, because then the cops also then have to find something to do with the animal, and the cops don't want to have to deal with that, so they'll just give them off with a warning or whatever. Let's see, U.S. wealth is around 174 trillion. We should be the envy of the world. We should be, but we have half the country who wants MAGA to be back in power, or at least half the voters. It's probably less than half the voters, because you don't need the popular vote to win. How many elections is it? Last 8 elections, only one did Republicans get a majority of the popular vote. It's ridiculous. That's why the Electoral College needs to go. Hey, it's Trucker John. I see Trucker John in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. So not winning the majority in the 2010 primaries allowed Moscow Mish to block President Obama's court appointments. Absolutely. And the 2010 primaries, I have a little bit on that as well. Project Red Map is what enabled the legislatures to be rewritten, it allowed the legislatures at the state level to get taken over by Republicans, who then redrew the maps to make it so that they were impossible to kick out. Look up on my channel Project Red Map, and you'll see information about that if you're not already aware of it. But yeah, the people don't understand that you can lose rights in off-year elections as well. But for some reason, they won't come out unless it's the big one. All the elections should be a big one, especially these days when the Republicans are trying to snatch every single inch of power that they possibly can. So, hey Josh, good to see you. It's okay that you're late. Hey Diane, good to see you as well. John started a workout program today. Good for you. Hope you do well with it. A tin of van, there's differences in we don't call them illegals here, because they're undocumented individuals. Because a lot of the people that come over, they come over seeking asylum. It's not illegal to seek asylum. People who are here illegally often are the people that overstay their visas, or maybe people who come over on fraudulent visas or fraudulently using visas, like Melania. The daughter seeks out one homeless man because she loves his dog, Roscoe. She buys dog food for him and gives him money. She says he's a nice guy just down. I was like, that's very sweet of your daughter, Jeff. Anyway, back to the topic of taxes. So, we've covered the Harris plan for the wealth tax, which is one of the several taxes that should be discussed about. But again, you also have to remember, when discussing taxes, it matters what's getting taxed. Always remember that in tax discussions. Somebody tells you, I want to see a 50% tax rate, 50% top marginal tax rate, 60% top marginal tax rate, 80% top marginal tax rate. Ask them, what's taxable income in that situation? Because you need to know. Otherwise, you can't make an informed decision. One of the things that both candidates have said that they want to make not taxable income are tips. Now, granted, I've worked as a waiter. Waiters often lie about the tips that they've received. They'll absolutely pocket cash tips and only claim what they have to. Like, I remember one restaurant that I worked for back in the day would automatically claim just 8% of your sales as tips. Boom. That's just it. Claim 8% of your sales. Done. Over. You didn't have to worry about counting them up, claiming, or what have you. Only time I think they would claim more is if you had a bunch of credit card tips. But still, you know, is this thing likely to pass? I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that people are going to pass it like that. And in order for Donald Trump to treat tips as not taxable income or as something other than income, like there was we'll talk about that in a second. In order for them to pass that, in order for Harris to pass that, you're going to have both houses together voting yes on it, and then they'd have to sign it into law. And then how do you enforce it? How do you, you know, what then? Do you, I mean, granted, most of these people, when I waited tables for the majority of the time waiting tables, my income wasn't that high anyway. I don't know what my marginal tax rate was anyway. So all of this really is just an attempt to try and appeal to individuals and try and get them to vote for you, when in reality, the people that are waiting tables need to look at what their actual tax rates are, what they're actually paying in taxes. What are you actually paying in taxes? Is this really going to help you? Is this really the thing that's going to make you, you know, oh, good, I'm now not being taxed on my tips, so therefore I'm made in the shade? No. But then on the other side of the aisle, on the left liberal side, on the union side of the aisle, I was listening to somebody on Saturday morning, I think it was on MSNBC. I was in the car, and you had this person talking about how tips are not guaranteed, which is true, they're not guaranteed, but typically it's customary to get them. So there were not many nights where I went low tip when I worked in the service industry. But he was trying to make the argument tips aren't guaranteed, and you have waiters that are only making $2.13 an hour, which is true to a point, but it's not absolute truth. Why is it true to a point? Yes, in many places where the states haven't gone and raised it above $2.13 an hour, if you're a waiter, your salary with tips is $2.13 an hour plus your tips. So then what? So why am I complaining? Because if you had a situation where you didn't get enough tips one week, your employer is required to pay you the minimum wage. So no, every tipped employee is required by law to be paid the minimum wage. Now, if there are employers that don't do this, then they should be gone after. They should, as violation of, you know, the laws pertaining to wages. But if you wait tables and you work a week and you don't get enough tips to meet the whatever $2.13, whatever the minimum wage times 40 hours might be, you then have to be paid the difference. You have to be guaranteed a minimum wage. So when people start arguing for these things like not taxed, I mean, it doesn't bother me if tips are not taxed. Fine, I don't care if it passes. I'm just saying that the argument that waiters are not getting minimum wage is false, because typically waiters are making much more than minimum wage, or a little bit more than minimum wage at least, with their tips included. But if they don't, and they don't meet the minimum wage with their tips included, their employers are required to pay them that extra to make it up. And we should be honest in how we discuss it. Even if they're going to lie, even if that side's going to lie, we should be honest about our policies, especially because the media is ridiculous when it comes to how they treat us when we have somebody on our side lying, and then when Trump lies, or another Republican lies. When Trump or any other MAGA Republican or any other Republican in general tells a lie about something, they're like, oh, that's just the Republicans being Republicans. That's just them being silly heads. Don't pay them any attention. They're just silly. But when a Democrat says something false, it's the end of the world. Oh, Kamala Harris lied about she did not say this correct, so therefore let's crucify her and burn her at the stake and do all the other horrible things and call her terrible names because she said something that wasn't true. Or another Democrat said something that wasn't true. So we have to just raise the entire area and flip tables because how dare they not tell the truth? But yet, again, when Trump does it, it's, that's Trump being Trump. He never tells the truth, so why should we bother? They think everything is rigged against them. No, the entire thing is rigged technically against us, but we don't whine and bitch and moan about it. We get up and we do something. We move forward, and we vote. And we fight. Nick, is that a good enough rant for you? The Rocky hymn is running through your head right now. There you go. I'm helping you along. Trucker John. Are buddy chasing a chicken? That's what I want to know. That'll get you to go viral. You need somebody out there with you and film you chasing a chicken and catching it, much like Rocky did, and then you'll go viral with that. Nick, that'll do. Oh, that'll do for. I thought you were for a second you were saying that'll do with my singing or my playing the Rocky theme. But my rant will do for now. So, but then, and if you're listening currently on Blog Talk Radio, actually it's 9 o'clock, so let's do a show reset. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central here on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Talk from the left, that's right, every week, at least twice a week. You can support the show by liking the channel, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, sharing videos with your friends, commenting on videos, all that good stuff. Hit that little heart 100 thing at the bottom of your screen to get things going as well. I think if you spam it too much, it's not good, but you can hit those buttons and help the show as well. Venmo, Liberal Dan on Venmo. Just do friends and family because you're not buying anything. Go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me Cider button, subscribe to the channel on Twitch, buy bits, become a Liberal Danimal on YouTube, buy super chats, super stickers, gift Twitch subscriptions and YouTube memberships to other people if you can. But most importantly, just interact with videos, share videos, comment on videos, like comments, like other videos, just get the algorithms all up and running. Al Gore needs more rhythm. So to Zen, the poverty line should be updated along with raising the minimum wage. Absolutely. Agree with you 100%. Of course, everybody was fighting for 15. If nowadays 15 needs to be like, what, 22? Because, we've took so long to up the minimum wage, we've now surpassed it. We now need more to have a livable minimum wage. And if you're conservative right now watching and you're saying, well, what about small businesses? About raising the minimum wage? I used to have that thought too. What about small businesses? Well, there's two ways to think about it. If you can't afford to pay your employees, then maybe you can't afford to be in business. But my other way of looking at it is this. Is that if you don't want to require all businesses to pay a higher minimum wage, then you at least, thank you for following, Silverhand, appreciate you, over on Twitch. If you don't want to force all businesses to pay a livable wage, then at least let's do universal basic income for everybody. Adjust the tax rate accordingly so that at some point, like maybe if you're making $400,000 a year or more, you might see a tax increase, but you're not seeing any Maybe at some point you won't see any difference if you're making like maybe between 200 and 400,000 a year, but make it so that you have this income coming in to kind of supplement those people that are making minimum wage, to make it so that they are having a livable income without any other government benefits. Although we should pass Medicare for all as well. But do it that way. And that way you can adjust the corporate tax for the large corporations so that they have to pay more money to cover their fair share of what the increased UBI would be. Meanwhile, if you're a smaller business, you might not have to pay as much because, you're a small business and it's going to be based on your income. We could do it that way too. I don't mind. As long as we get there, I don't care how we get there. It's kind of like the difference between Medicare for all and implementing a real solid public option. I don't care how we get there as long as we get there. Horse by any other name, right? Yeah, well, we've had lots of discussions about people on disability, and there was a little bit of an argument that took place. But yes, there is unfortunate things that goes on with disability. So people in the service industry largely prefer no tax on tips, even if it means minimum wages. But yeah, if what you're going to see sometimes in many circumstances, maybe not with fast food, but in other circumstances, you might see businesses having to raise prices on their goods. Now, in fast food, it doesn't necessarily happen. And why do I say this? Because in North Dakota, when you had like the natural gas boom, and that was going on, not a little explosion of natural gas, but when natural gas was, started being drilled out the ground, and you had to get a lot of people up there. And a lot of people up there were getting paid a bunch of money to come work there. And so you needed to have your Wendy's and Burger Kings and McDonald's and et cetera. And so you had to, but you couldn't pay them the federal minimum wage. Why? Because you had to compete with all the other, because if somebody came over and was like, oh, well, why would I work at McDonald's for $7.25 an hour when I can go work at this place for $16 an hour for the natural gas company? So these companies were forced to pay people a more livable wage. And it did not cause food costs to increase by the amount that conservatives like to say, oh, if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, you're going to get, $30 cheeseburgers at McDonald's. No, that's wrong. And that didn't happen in North Dakota. They might have went up a little bit, but they didn't go up anywhere near the amount that conservatives like to say that they would have gone up. So, Chris, between cash and food, I get less than $20,000 a year for a family of three. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculously low. That is criminal. Yes, kimchi, that's a crime, Chris. Absolutely. I didn't even see that you said it was a crime, and I said it was a criminal. See, Liberal Dan Radio listeners, y'all are a bunch of smart people. So, yes, they also have a history of raping Native Americans in North Dakota. That's unfortunate, obviously. And they also have a tradition of blowing through their lands and grave sites and everything and screwing them over that way as well. Guarantee you, if they wanted to build a pipeline over a Catholic cemetery, people would pitch a fit. Let's say they wanted to build a pipeline and there was like a veteran cemetery there. They would pitch a fit. But if you have an indigenous people burial ground in an area where they want to build a pipeline, they'll be like, nah, who cares?
It is what it is.
That's what Donald would say. So, 56 Nick Trich. Generous billionaires are loved. Oprah, Taylor, and Gates. Even then, they're still billionaires. So there's still there's still problems with how they got that rich. Because there's no... I want to talk about that. I'll talk about that in a second too. That quote, the line I'm about to say, the no ethical consumption in capitalism, because you have people who are getting paid substandard wages to enable them to get to that point. So unless everybody along the way got paid a decent wage, all billionaires are bastards. ABAB, right? So we're at bingo Saturday night with some family friends. And the mom, who's friends initially with my wife, as part of a mom's group when they were all stay-at-home moms. The moms, them two, and her two oldest daughters were there. The oldest daughter has brought her little kid who's adorable, and one of their friends, and me and Cassie. So we're talking about like places like all these like Shein and Temu and all the other places where you can get cheap goods online, and she was trying to question my liberalism for buying a shirt. Like, I actually got this off of Temu because it fits me very well and it looks nice. It's not a solid shirt, and I'm sorry, I know a lot of people are opposed to it or think that it's dangerous, but I like to be able to wear clothes that fit well, and I like to be able to wear clothes that are not solid color t-shirts all the damn time. So if you're going to cater to a larger plus size audience and give us good looking clothes, abso-freaking-lutely, I'm going to buy it. 100%. But the mom asked me, so how do you feel about the idea that these people, these clothes and stuff are so cheap because children are making them? And I was like, is it Walmart? Doesn't Walmart profit from child labor as well? Aren't there plenty of other corporations, whatever? And then her second oldest daughter looks up and goes, well, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. And I was like, fist bump, because I was shook that the daughter of this conservative woman would come up and say, without me provoking it, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's great. I'm so happy you said that. That just makes me so happy. So, 56 Nitrich. Nobody needs $1 billion. Sharing it is better than hoarding it. Absolutely. You agreed. Like if everybody who was a billionaire suddenly went down to $500 million in personal wealth, I think they'd be okay. But then all that other money that would come out of that and be redistributed would be beneficial to the vast bunches of society, of the world. But, they don't care about the world. They just care about their billions. And just want more and more and more, like Veruca Salt. Millionaires would be more alike if they shared. Like, I'm picturing you'd be a lot cooler if you shared. See, I still buy from Walmart even though Walmart is evil. It's one of the reasons why, Josh, what? Dan isn't plus size. Really? Yeah, okay, fine. I'm not plus size. I'm multiplication size. That's how big I am. Thank you, Trucker John. I appreciate you. It feels nice, too. It's nice. It has a nice texture, a nice feeling. It fits very well. It's loose. It's comfortable. Like, I can lift my arms up and not show my belly. Like, it's very nice. See, I moved a 1700s graveyard with 10 graves in it for a landfill. On the other hand, the black graveyard was deemed not historically important. Oy. How about this? How about we build a pipeline over the cemeteries of Confederate soldiers? Because I don't think we should be feeling any sort of nice things about Confederate soldiers. I posted one of my videos like, what is your controversial take? Here's mine. We should exhume all of the corpses of Confederate soldiers from Arlington and take them out because they don't belong there. Traitors shouldn't be buried in Arlington National Cemetery. So, thank you, Josh. I really wasn't fishing for compliments, but I'll take them. Bought my mic on Temu. Well, that's interesting. Cool. I mean, I bought this on YouTube, not YouTube. I bought this on Amazon because, I was not having good sound from this mic, from my camera. I was not having good sound from the other mic that I bought, and I was like, what's a good podcaster mic? So I went ahead and got this mic. So it is what it. Oh, sorry, that's Trump's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Herr Donald. But yeah, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was this. Let's go ahead and shut this, cue up the video first before we get there so you can't hear it. Because we had Donald Trump saying some BS at a rally in Pennsylvania the other day. And this is one of the things that made me absolutely want to do a show on taxes. Because Donald Trump said, and if you follow me on Twitter, Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, I'm also on Threads, Liberal Dan Radio as well. If you want to follow me there, you'll see when I retweet things like this. And here's Herr Donald himself. And what does he have to say on tariffs? Let's unmute and go.
A tariff is a tax on a foreign country. That's the way it is, whether you like
Wrong.
it or not. A lot of people like to say, oh, it's a tax on us. No. It's a tax on a foreign country. It's a tax on a country that's ripping us off and stealing our jobs.
Now look, I don't necessarily have an issue if you want to be a little bit protectionist when it comes to imposing tariffs on countries that do that operate unfairly. I think, free trade is not always a great idea. We should have fair trade, and that's fine. But his idea that tariffs are not, that we don't pay, shows that he doesn't understand the first thing about economics.
And it's a tax that doesn't affect our country.
Bull pooey.
And you could see hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs on other countries also. I took in a tariff.
All right, so there he goes. That's his little stupid clip. Somebody needs to explain to Donald Trump the idea of price elasticity of demand. Because goods can be price elastic, or price inelastic when it comes to demand. What does that mean if you don't understand what that means? I'm sure plenty of people who have watched Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, have already heard a description or an explanation of price elasticity of demand. And probably many others have, been educated about that topic from other places. But just in case you don't know what it is, I'm not judging anybody for not knowing what it is, unless you're sitting here trying to implement tax policy and you don't understand how things work, like in the economy. If you're a president, I absolutely will judge you if you don't understand what price elasticity of demand is. So how price elastic or inelastic a good is basically means how much is demand going to shift for the item based on an increase or decrease in price. So if something is price elastic, it's going to react to a good having a price increase. So if you put a tariff on a good that's price elastic, guess what? The price is going to increase for the consumer because price elastic. Prices might not increase as much. I'm sorry. Let's start over. If you're not always the best, I don't always have the best words. So if something is price elastic, it's going to reflect the demand will change more likely based off of a change in price. So price elastic goods will have lots of alternatives. So let's say you had number 2 pencils and somebody wanted to put a tariff on number 2 pencils being shipped in from another country. I don't know. And they're number 2 pencils they're created here. If you wanted to ship in the number 2 pencils from another country, and a tariff was being put on those goods coming in, well, guess what? The odds of them being able to raise prices on American consumers on these pencils is slim, or are slim, because there are alternatives here that you could buy. Maybe you buy a mechanical pencil. Maybe you buy domestically produced number 2 pencil. Whatever. Point is that for a price elastic good, if you change price, you're going to see a change in demand. Price inelastic goods, on the other hand, like to some extent gasoline, there are certain levels of gasoline that people have to use every day. Now, there's a certain amount of gasoline that people don't want to use. So let's say, for example, you have a commute every day to work, but let's say you might also want to drive to Disney World. Well, the drive to Disney World might seem less attractive on if gas prices go up. But if you are going back and forth to work, you have to buy the gas that will allow you to go back and forth to work. So that gas is going to be price inelastic. So they could raise prices on your gas. So Donald Trump could put a tariff on that gas, and the people would be like, okay, well, we're just going to pass that tariff on to consumers because consumers need gasoline, and therefore we're not going to eat the price of this tariff. You are the consumer. So abso-freaking-lutely, if he's going to put tariffs on goods that are price inelastic, guess what? The American consumer is going to pay for it. But again, Donald Trump is not a successful businessman. Donald Trump, if he would have just taken the money that he inherited from his dad and stuck it in a hedge fund, he'd probably have more money than he does now. Again, I don't necessarily use the bankruptcy thing against him in when people try to say he's a bad businessman because of bankruptcies. No, he's a corrupt businessman because of the bankruptcies, because he used bankruptcy laws and other ways to get out of people debt while he still profited from these companies. Once he realized he couldn't do anything else with these companies to get all the spare change out the cushions, don't tell J.D. Vance that they were cushions, but to get all the spare change out the cushions, then he would have he would utilize and abuse the bankruptcies in order to make sure that, he doesn't have to pay any more debts, whilst giving himself a nice golden parachute to jump out of. So I'm more inclined to be critical of Donald Trump's bankruptcies because it shows him to be the fraud that he is, not necessarily of him being a bad business person, but still, he's not a great business person. And his failure to understand price elasticity of demand just is another example of why he just has no clue what he's talking about. As such, has no business anywhere back near the Oval Office. Even a component of that item would increase the price. Yeah, that too. So, but yeah, there's price elasticity of demand is much more complex than I tried to give it. I was kind of trying to give like a 30,000 overview. But the point is that Donald Trump is wrong, that tariffs can affect us, and most likely will affect us, especially if it's Donald Trump implementing them, because he's probably going to put tariffs on things that are instead of putting tariffs on things that are price elastic, he's probably going to put tariffs on things that are price inelastic, which is going to hurt consumers even more. Just like he hurt consumers with this horrible oil deal. Because he's an idiot. He's an idiot because he doesn't think that tariffs affect consumers. He's an idiot because he thinks that if you stop testing, you have less cases. He's an idiot for a various amount of reasons. I would say he's an idiot for making that terrible deal with OPEC and Russia to reduce the amount of oil that's being produced and supplied. But I kind of half believe this conspiracy theory idea that Donald Trump probably had internal polling saying, you're going to lose this election. So therefore, he made some deal that would make it so that gasoline prices and oil prices would skyrocket because of this deal that he negotiated with OPEC and Russia. And then maybe invested in oil, thus enriching a lot of people who were invested in oil. Especially those people who could buy it back when oil went negative because we had too much supply. So, anyway, let's go back, check out the chat some more. What team is Dan's shirt reminding me of? Leeds United. Do they have black and blue one? I'm not a football guy. I'm not a soccer guy either, Steve. Leeds United uniform. Let's see if that is. No, I don't think that's it. Soccer. It does kind of look like something that I've seen on TV though. Soccer league uniform or soccer team uniform. blue and black stripes. There it is. Let's see if we can find it. Italy? It's the Italian team. Club Bruges. Belgium also has that. So yeah, I did kind of think that when I was looking at myself. I was like, this kind of looks like a football uniform, but I'm not quite exactly sure. Inter Milan also has thicker stripes, but it's the same kind of color. Apparently, a lot of teams have this kind of blue and white or blue and black stripe deal going on. So I don't think it's unique to one specific team, but there's lots of teams that may very well have it. So let's see. Manassas, Virginia, paid by Disney, then sold, is now a shopping complex. Met a guy walking in a park with a dog that was so big and pretty. I was playing with it. Finally had to ask what it was, and he goes, "A wolf." Nice. Gotta run. Surrender Monkey. Great stream. Have a pretend job as a miner on 7 days to die. I don't pay taxes because I have a pickaxe. Nice. Well, thank you, Surrender Monkey, for joining. Alexandria Civil War site is now townhouses. He has tariffs. He knows nothing about them. I have the best tariffs. Nobody has better tariffs, is what he'll say. Who isn't stealing jobs, according to Trump? I don't know. Probably anybody where the job helps him make money. He won't say that those jobs are stolen. Hopefully somebody will make the presidency a black job, as Michelle Obama said in the DNC. I'll be honest, Sort Monkey, the Trump no tax on tips, I thought it was another scheme to avoid inheritance tax by giving Ivanka in lap dance tips. Wow. That's great. I like it. Very good. Thank you, Surrender Monkey, for that. Let's see. Ask Trucker John about buying gas lately in Vegas. Oh, I'm sure it's terrible. I mean, Michael Hunt, gas prices under 187 for me. Was 187 for me. Yes, it was for me too. During a pandemic. Why don't y'all get that? Gas got so low because we were in a pandemic. We were in a pandemic, so therefore demand for oil was low. Demand for oil being low meant price of oil derivative products would be low, so gasoline would have a low price, i.e. 187 a gallon. Yes. And then when we came out of the pandemic, it stood to reason that the price of gasoline would rise up a bit because demand for the gasoline would be higher. But this idiot Donald Trump signed this deal with OPEC and with Russia. I make the best. So much for the art of the deal guy. I make the best deals. Nobody makes better deals. The art of the deal guy makes this horrid, rubbish, terrible deal with Russia and OPEC to artificially reduce barrels of oil production by millions of barrels a day. And then there's no caveat in this deal with what happens if demand starts increasing because we're coming out of lockdowns. Nothing like that in this plan. And the deal went from 2020 all the way into 2022. And that's why gas prices skyrocketed. Your boy Trump did it. That's why I have a problem with people saying, oh, presidents can't set gas prices. No, a president can't directly establish what the price of gasoline is, sure. But a president can absolutely have policies in place that cause issues with like the supply of oil or whatever, and can impact the economy in various ways. And Donald Trump's horrible deal with OPEC and Russia caused gasoline to skyrocket once we all started coming out of our houses and wanting to do things again. That's why we started seeing $4 plus a gallon in gas. I think down in Louisiana, I think today I just paid like either $2.86 or $2.66. I think it was $2.86 for a gallon of unleaded. So, but, you know, that's the Biden economy, helping to bring the gasoline prices down. So, but conservatives never want to deal with that. Conservatives, to me, were always supposed to be, they always touted how great they were with the economy, but you don't understand economics. You can't be great with the economy as a conservative if you don't understand how economics works. If you don't understand how tariffs work, like Trump, you don't understand how supply and demand works. Supply and demand is simple. It's a very easy thing to grasp. And if you artificially reduce the supply of something, gas goes up. Because the demand curve, or the supply curve shifts over, thus causing the price of the gas to rise. Because that's how it works. Let's scroll back down to see if we can get back to where and Don O'Leary also makes a great point. Your gas prices or the uterus or whatever it was said. But yes, you know, that's also something that needs to be taken into consideration because I would rather pay more money in gas to make sure that people have body autonomy. Would I rather low gas prices and body autonomy? Absolutely. What's more important to me? Body autonomy. Equality. Not electing bigots into government. That's important to me. So what if I make a little less money in my paycheck? Now granted, under Biden, I'm making much more money in my paycheck than I ever have. Let's ignore that for a second. And I'm going to say this. I'd rather pay more in taxes than have somebody who wants to implement a nationwide abortion ban, somebody who would say that there has to be punishment for the woman, as Donald Trump is on camera saying. And he wasn't joking about it. He was serious. See, calling Trump a businessman is to misunderstand English in a fundamental way. See, ask a British driver about petrol prices. You guys would literally have a fit. Kimchi pet from near me gets loose. He shows up here and rides on a lawnmower with me. Hilarious. Hey, Rose. What's up, my Rosie Posey? Welcome to... It's Liberal Rose. Meows from the left. That's right. Yeah, Benny. What an original troll name. Exactly. Internal polling. I knew you'd come around to my worldview. Dirty boy, Dan. Nice. Yes. Internal. I'm surprised Jeff didn't say that. Bad monkey. No banana. Ooh, New York Strip. Please share. See, I just realized I have a phone, and if I press unpause, YouTube works in the pit. Nice. 21st century suffragettes and suffragents are coming for Donnie. Let's hope. And everybody remember to go watch Diane and Benny's show. Please, one of the mods from the mod squad, share the link to the show, please, if you can. Steve took off. Good to see you, Steve. Thank you for stopping by. Kudos from across the pond. Trump's NDAs are new Donald agreements to the public ones he announces. Nice. Biden sold some of SPR when prices were high and is now refilling it at lower prices, making a profit for us. Yes, good. Good for him. Sell high, buy low. That's what you're supposed to do. Dan, is this your only source of income? No, this is not my only source of income. This is a very low source of income for me. I have made some money, especially when people play the games that I share on here. But no, I'm a software developer by day. Mild-mannered podcaster at night, but software developer by day. My main job is still a full-time 9 to 5 job, and I do this at nights, sometimes on the weekends, sometimes on holidays, etc. when I'm off, because, I feel like I'm trying to make a difference in the world, darn it. But no, I do really well, or doing really well salary-wise. Now I have issues. Now I have income issues that have nothing to do with Biden, simply because of the fact that, my mother-in-law passed away back in April, and we're still having to pay her house note until we can get the house sold. So there's that. So we have to deal with the house and get it all cleared out, get it ready to go, so we can sell the house and make some money. And no longer have to pay the amount of money that we're paying on the house. So that will free up some income. But at the moment, things are tight because of that, not because of Bidenomics. Many local MAGA is simple-minded. All they know is how to hate. Isn't that right, Gibson? Nice. The irony of the red pill freaks being the ones who want to make women incubators. Exactly. Yeah, they want men going their own way, and they won't go their own way, and they still want to control women. So, rent it, I don't know if we want to deal with renting it, because renting it out means we'd probably have to fix it up much more than we want to. We're kind of torn at, do we fix up what needs to be fixed, or do we just let them buy it and then fix it how they want to fix it? There's some things I think we do need to fix, like maybe a new toilet, maybe some work done on the ceilings or whatever. But the first thing we have to do is clean out all of the stuff, and there's a lot of stuff, because they lived there for a good long time. So there's a lot of stuff to throw away. There's a lot of stuff to clean out. There's a lot of stuff that has to take place. So that's a drag on my income. So, which is one of the reasons I'm trying to do this and trying to make this successful, so that I can help supplement the income or whatever. But we're fine right now. But I'm worried about the next few months when it comes to what's going to happen with all that. But hopefully we can get it sold within a month or two. So I don't think renting it out, although there is a possibility that we might do the thing where we're the bank or something, and they give us like a down payment, but we're the bank, and we end up handling most of the stuff. Like, they pay us the escrow account, they pay us all that other stuff, and we pay those bills that way. We'll see if that becomes something, or if we just sell it outright. But that's a topic for another show, I think. Yeah, Jan, I understand my mom was a hoarder. I don't necessarily know if she was. I mean, I was shook at going over, I was going through the drawers trying to find something, because I was trying to file her taxes for this year. And what happened was, I'm going through these drawers to find old versions of taxes, and they had taxes way back into the 80s. Like, they saved that you're only supposed to save your taxes for or they tell you you're supposed to save your taxes for 7 years. These taxes were saved for 20 years. Crazy. But yeah, we need to get rid of a lot of stuff. We need to have a yard sale eventually. Apparently there's an old Singer, sewing machine that might actually be worth something pretty decent, that we might be looking to get rid of and sell for a decent price. We'll see how that goes. There's also, they have an auto piano and a bunch of the piano rolls. There's that too. I don't know if I want to sell those all off as one lot, or if I want to sell it, or if I want to sell them individually, because there's some, or maybe sell some individually and sell the rest as a lot. I don't know. But there's a lot of rolls that are there, for the automatic piano that they have. The piano needs fixing, but we'll get there eventually.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So, filing cabinets can hold a lot of stuff. Yes, they can. So yeah, we're going to. So we have to deal with that. Hey, it's TV2. Good seeing you, TV2. Thank you for stopping by. go subscribe to TV2 as well. Go subscribe to Benny and Diane's channel, or go subscribe to all sorts of different stuff. All the people that support us. Oh, we got a 111 caller again. I wonder if this is. We're gonna give the 111 caller a shot. We're gonna see if it's my same friend from the other week, or maybe it's my Atlanta friend. We'll see. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hello, Liberal Dan, my friend. This is
Hey,
Brother
good to
Michael
hear
from
from you.
India.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for taking my calls as well, too. Very respectful show you have, and we love to hear your side of the stories always. And, I wanted to bring to your attention that, Wall Street Journal wrote in that America's extreme renters who own nothing, including their own clothes, and with everything becoming so expensive and inflated in the United States and Western nations and other countries, combined with a severe home affordability crisis and companies shifting their model to reflect subscription, renting, and leasing services, more and more people are becoming forever renters who own nothing, to the extreme end where some no longer even own basics such as the shirt off their back and other common items that normally would be owned. And the World Economic Forum has prophesied that this would be exactly be the case by 2030, my friend. But they prophesied it in 2015. The WEF published an essay that expressed what life would probably be like in 2030. Go ahead, my friend. Liberal Dan. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to definitely look that up simply because of the fact that it was interesting, the people renting clothes. And I did remember seeing one thing where people would, you say, okay, I want to have these clothes, and then you send it back and get new clothes. There's rental fashion. Rental fashion allows a person to borrow clothes for a fixed amount of time, returning the items to the company once they finish wearing them. Historically, people used early fashion rental companies to rent high-end garments rather than being marketed as a sustainable fashion approach. Rental fashion initially allowed customers to wear items that would otherwise be not affordable. Now people can rent a variety of clothing items online that complement their everyday wardrobe. So yeah, that's not owning anything is that's amazing. That's crazy that people have managed to figure out that scam, and I'm more than happy to call it that, because they've convinced people to not own anything and be happy about it. Whereas it used to be the American dream where you own a home, you have your 2.5 kids or whatever, you own your car, you own everything. I used to lease cars. I used to think that leasing cars was a decent model for my needs, because I would always have a new car, it would always be under warranty, and I would be able to get an upgraded car, after 3 years, and I didn't necessarily need to have this car. But then what ended up happening is you have people who live in Louisiana and New Orleans specifically who would do things like ding up your car and ding 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 every once in here's a dent, there's a dent, here's a scratch, there's a scratch, and by the end of the time when your lease is up, guess what? Your car now has damages that you now have to pay for, but there's no one particular payment that you can make. So therefore, leasing, then I gave up on leasing, because I'm like, I can't trust other drivers or other people to be honest with their stuff. So therefore, leasing stopped being something that was attractive to me. Rental, that wise. But as for homes, I understand we had a show a while ago talking about, is rent theft? Because there was a large group of people who believe that rent is theft and that people shouldn't be landlords, and landlords are horrible people. There are plenty of landlords clearly that are horrible people, don't get me wrong, But people who, a lot of people will, these big private equity firms that will buy up housing to make it so that this housing supply is smaller because they don't make these houses available. Therefore, the price of housing artificially goes up, and they can collect more rent. There's that. There's problems with home ownership as well. There are some people who clearly will probably need to always rent, like traveling nurses or people that travel for business, all the time, or who don't necessarily stay in one place. And that's fine, but
Exactly.
but there are many people who are probably benefited by having a house and being able to set down roots and growing their own equity and wealth within their homes. And then guess what? They're denied that ability because they've made the price of owning a home so high because, again, they've artificially reduced the supply of housing, making your ability to own a home even worse. Now, granted, when we're in the situation where we have to sell my mother-in-law's house, we might be benefiting from the fact that the supply of housing is low because we might be able to sell it for much more than what the loan is left on the house. Therefore, we might be able to make a decent amount of money. Granted, I'd rather my mother-in-law still be alive than have to worry about that, but that's another story. But I do appreciate
Absolutely.
you bringing up that the whole rental economy type thing and rental lifestyle. I mean,
So everything rental, I mean, it's ridiculous. Basically, better say welcome to the year 2030, welcome to my city, or should I say our city around the globe. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes, etc. It might it seems odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in the city. Everything you consider a product has now become a service for you. We have access to transportation, accommodation, food, and all the things we need in our daily lives. One by one, all of these things become free. So it ended up not making sense for us to own much. Isn't that crazy, my friends?
yeah, absolutely, very much so. Well, thank you for. And do we really? And even when you own a house, do you really own the house and the property? Because you still have to pay taxes on the land every year too. So there's that as well. But yeah, anyway. So I'm going to be. I am ending the show. Go ahead.
American dream is finished, my friend. That's the problem. No, I mean, before people, say, okay, my kid will be 21, 30, will get married and will own a house and, have a good life and etc. But everything is finished. If you go to endofamericandream.com, just type it, End of American Dream. You should find it. And basically it says to you a lot of information that really breathtaking. I mean, even UK or even NATO countries have the same problems. I mean, especially, we are close to each other economically and military and etc. So they have the same issues. I mean, they are not alone. And if you go to winepressnews.com, WINE press PRESS news.com, you will find that article for WEF by 2030, and you should be. It's about 4 or 5 pages, and it will more detail you, give you more information. But if you have no other questions, then I am done with you, my friends.
Well, thank you again so much for calling. I'm glad I took a risk on you and took you. I guess I'm always going to take a risk on the all one calls again. Always appreciate you calling in.
But unfortunately, mine always has to be. So I understand you. Thank you for your consideration, and it was very nice to again to have a chat with you, my friend.
You as well. You have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you so much. Again, you could always call in probably next show if you want to. There is the Skype option, I think, via Blog Talk Radio, which is how you see the 111s, or how I see the 111s. But there's also, we're probably not going to take any more calls today because I'm probably ending the show in a few seconds. Or after I go through the chat, let's go through the chat one more time before we end the show. But the 914-803-4131 is the number to call for the next time. Let's see. You may be sitting on a gold mine. Be careful what you discount as junk. Oh, exactly. I mean, I was looking at some of the piano roll type stuff, and there were some of the piano rolls, like especially the larger ones, that were going for a pretty penny on eBay. I was pretty impressed. So, let's see. TV2 needs to stay on the mic. He keeps fading. Some of it's me being on top of the mic, but some of it is also, the fact that my sound keeps dropping to below like 80 on the input, which kind of sucks. So, see, Nick Rich, I've forked over $110,000 in rent for my apartment over the years. The landlord is itching for me to move so we can double the rent. That's quite unfortunate that, that's what they want to do. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't pulled shenanigans to try and force it. I guess that depends on where you live and whether or not you can do those shenanigans or not. See, Jeff, Don, I entered the first barbecue contest, all pros. I took second and third in ribs with that cooker. Were they ribs for her pleasure? There are vacant houses, yet a shortage of houses. Anyone else see the problem here? Well, yeah, because the people that own the houses, that own the property, want to keep the property from being rented or sold, thus artificially reducing supply, thus making it harder for you to be able to, get a cheap place to live. It's market manipulation by the big corporations that own all of these stuff. Like a lot of people talk about rents and stuff. I don't, necessarily look at the, all rent as being like if you have a duplex and you rent the other half of your house to somebody else, I don't have a problem with that. But if you're buying up properties and then just, making it so that people can't, have a fair price on housing, yeah, I have a problem with that, big time. Exactly, Benny. Try not paying taxes on your home or paying insurance on your car, see how fast they disappear. Hell, my mother-in-law's vehicle that I'm now driving, the Kia, Hyundai, whatever the finance company that owns all three, they told us that if we didn't refinance the car out of my mother-in-law's name, that they could repossess the car, despite the fact that we were current on all payments. And I was like, no, you're not going to do that. So we did a debt consolidation loan off of my home equity and decided to go ahead and actually just pay off the note, so therefore they couldn't have any business trying it, because I don't want to have to deal with that fight. And we'll never go through Kia again. Never. Because of that BS. Now, we'll still go to Kia for when we have to, for whatever, if we have included maintenance or whatever, fine. If there's recalls, we'll still have to go there, fine. But we will never buy a Kia again after the way they treated us with this situation. So they were trying to take the car with us being current on the payments and on the insurance. So Chris, lost my last car for going 6 miles over the limit because of 2 seconds because I was homeless. Lost my job and my insurance. Ugh, terrible. Kamala understands what's going on. She gets it. Well, hopefully, TV2 says, I was clear. The caller was sometimes hard. Okay, well, that's fine. Sometimes it's me that's hard to clear because my volume is stupid. See, no doubt it's an issue in some high-populated areas. About 10% of the rentals in the country are owned by Wall Street. We're Worked for C Paper Auto Finance. Yes, you can refinance. Well, we did. We refinanced. We rolled it up into a home equity loan and just said, screw it. But yes, Kia sucks. And yes, they love to kick us when we're down. And I was just like, no, I was actually looking at like some of their other, like the Tellurides looked like a really nice ride to me. But I'll tell you what, I won't be riding that vehicle. That's for darn sure. I think the issue is there isn't enough public or assisted housing, and so the privately owned rentals are easy to raise price on. Well, and this is one of the things we discussed on the show with Rent is Theft, because there's an argument that's made out there that having rental assistance like Section 8 housing helps to artificially inflate the price of housing for rentals, because if the homeowner knows they can get that amount of money out of Section 8, then that's going to be the amount of money that they get, that they're going to charge for rent, or maybe even a little bit more. So there's that. There's also that to take into consideration. I'm not saying get rid of Section 8. I'm just saying the fact that we have such a system where that people are able to manipulate the system in such a way so that if they know that they can get that amount of money, and if they're going to rent to Section 8 people who are utilizing Section 8, why wouldn't they charge that amount of money, which could potentially artificially inflate the housing market so that renting costs more, so then home ownership costs more, etc. It's just a repeating cycle, and we're all suffering from it. Again, I don't believe that rent is theft, but there are definitely some thieving bastard landlords, that's for darn sure. My Kia never again ignition stripped 3 times, no guarantee with replacement parts. Yeah, agreed, Dave, but like Medicaid, the government barters. With Medicare, they get to barter. Unfortunately, I don't know how much they can barter with the Section 8. I mean, you do have to upkeep and maintain the properties a certain amount. I know somebody who used Section 8, who definitely made... the person worked as a phlebotomist when I was working in a hospital before Hurricane Katrina. It's been like 19 years since Hurricane Katrina, which is crazy. This Friday, I think, or this Thursday is the 19th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. It's bizarre. But before I worked at the hospital, before the Katrina, I worked at this hospital, and there was somebody who would absolutely... she had rental properties, and I would talk to her about it all the time and what she would do. And I would try and think of things like, can you do this? Trying to think of things that should absolutely be illegal when it comes to, running a corporation and running a business. And I was like, can you do this? And she was like, oh, sure, absolutely. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? It was just mind blowing what you can get away with when it comes to, owning a company. What also was mind-blowing, there was something else I was talking about the other day where it was just like, I was talking to a lawyer friend of mine, I was like, with my mother-in-law stuff, I was like, if I do this, because like, can I do this? And they were just like, yep, you can. I'm like, crazy. But I was looking at like one of the radio stations that I listen to, that has conservative talk. They are a not-for-profit radio station. Not-for-profit. I put it in quotes because I'm sure there's ways to manipulate nonprofits as well. One time I was looking into making sort of an educational nonprofit for something, and I got a whole bunch of books from the library. That shows you how long ago it was. And I got a whole bunch of books from the library about nonprofits and how to... And one of the books that I found was how to make money using a nonprofit. Basically, how you can make yourself rich from nonprofits. And I'm like, isn't that going against the whole idea? The whole reason you have a nonprofit is because you don't want to pay taxes on the stuff, because, you don't want to charge them taxes because they're doing good charitable work. But no, they want to help you make a nonprofit so you can make bank.
90 seconds.
That's a lie. It's not really 90 seconds, but... Dawn, Hyundai are also very easy to steal. They stole that Kia that I'm driving. They stole it, and we got it back, shockingly enough, but I do have a club on it now, so they can't do that TikTok thing. So... Yep, 56, Nick Rich. How to Grift, a bestseller. Yes, absolutely.
60 seconds.
I was shocked. It's not really 60 seconds either, although I am ending the show anyway soon. But the show's supposed to last for another hour, but Blog Talk Radio is broken. Again, the slumlords get what they want from the government. They never keep stuff up to code. Well, and even if they do minimal. They do the minimum that's required. Just any corporation is going to do the minimum required to get, if as long as they know that there's no alternatives and you're stuck with these things, they will do the minimum that they have to do. So that's the way things goes. That's why there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. That's why capitalism is horrible for many, 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 many people. So
10 seconds.
TV2 Live, come on my show as a guest sometime. Absolutely, I would love to come on your show as a guest sometime. We could definitely work that out. liberaldanradio@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. We can talk about it and find it. Benny, why can't we all catch a break? Republicans, that's why. Exactly. Because the Republicans have a decent sized, they're not a decent group, but they're a decent sized group of people. They've got them all hoodwinked that if they only vote their way, that they're going to do well. When in reality, they're not going to do well. The only people that are going to do well are the rich oligarchs and the other corrupt people, especially those people who are supporting and are close to Donald Trump. But at this time, I'm going to have to say, put an end to this week's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. I will be live on Twitch tomorrow, twitch.tv/nerdydan.com, if you want to come hang out with me there. But also, if you're not interested in that, again, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, here, liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. We'll talk about more election stuff. We'll talk about other topics of the day. We might even talk about some pop culture and other stuff at the end of the show, because sometimes that's fun too. Go check out Hal, go check out Dude, go check out Boston Brian, go check out Minas, go check out a whole bunch of other people out there that are doing the hard fight. Subscribe to all of them, share the videos, like and everything, because we need to fight back and win this November. For Liberal Dan Radio, this is Dan Zimmerman with more Talk from the Left. That's right.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.